I want to start off with the public sentiment. We've seen this outpouring of emotion. There are a lot of people who feel today that Gladys Berejiklian has been hard done by. She was treated poorly by Daryl Maguire, and now she's appears to have lost her job over it. So what do you make of that, and what do you make of the public mood in Sydney right now?
Look, I call the two different reactions to all of this, the people who study the granular of politics, we'll talk about that in a second, and then the compulsory voting class, which of course is the vast majority of people in Australia who are focused on anything but politics all day, every day. In that compulsory voting class, they don't know what's happened. They don't understand what's happened. They don't understand, well, hang on, wasn't all of this a thing in ICAC last year? You know, the bloke and the relationship and all the rest of it. And surely that's all gets washed out by how good she's been when it comes to COVID. And look, you know, you turn on Talkback Radio and be it commercial or taxpayer funded, and most people are in that level of shock. And that's generally the case, is that, you know, your state premier, and particularly during COVID, is such a massive daily part of the news and your life. And literally when, for the past year, we've been leaning in to go, so Gladys, can I go outside? Can I go outside? These people take on a different role. So the Gladys lovers, well, you know, they have kind of overlooked this ICAC question for a little bit too long. The immediate reaction, as I say, from outside the bubble is going to be, hang on, what happened here? But the granular is, you've got to be honest here, which is she was lucky to escape when she did from ICAC last year. There were questions that kept hanging over, and the assumption was that if there was ever to be a report, then there would be consequences like what we saw today. But the assumption was, because it had been basically a year, that report was never going to come. So, as I say, it all depends on how closely you read the play.
Well, we had Gabriella Power in Gladys Berejiklian's electorate today, and she struggled to find a single person who would say anything critical. Everyone seemed to be shocked and saddened, and there was even a woman who was reduced to tears. Let's have a quick look.
I'm devastated, to be honest. Makes me want to cry. She's led us through a really difficult time. We're in a global pandemic, and she's led us with strength and integrity, and I'm devastated that she's gone. And I'm also really angry by the double standard that exists in our government, that, you know, we have males who can have affairs and who can have babies with their assistants, or, you know, be accused of sexual assault and rape and still be in government, yet a leader of integrity and strength like Gladys is forced out. And that, in my opinion, is what has happened.
Oh, come off.
Paul, that is going to be an opinion that is fairly widely held, because when these revelations came out last year, there were a lot of people who just felt sympathy for Gladys Berejiklian and said she made a poor personal choice, and now she's being humiliated for it. Do you think there is a double standard? Would this have happened to a male premier?
What, like the previous New South Wales Premier who was her mentor, who had to resign over a bottle of wine? Yeah, there's no double standard. Look, the truth is that the ICAC in New South Wales is a beast. It's a show trial. It often doesn't result in formal charges being laid against anyone, not even findings of corruption. But such is the brand value, for want of a better term, about the ICAC, that when you get called before it, then you know, you get paraded in and out of something that looks like a courtroom, yet unlike any courtroom, you don't have live cameras going the whole time. It is about reputations. And look, again, I'm not going to be heartless about what people are feeling about Gladys Berejiklian. I've always got along with her. But I'm also not going to look beyond the obvious, which is you can simultaneously be a good person who did a good job when it came to something in a pandemic, and then also somebody who knows the death by 1,000 cuts that was going to come from having to go for, I think it's 10 days would be the hearing part of what happens at ICAC, followed by the months of let's work out what the report is, followed by whatever the heck the report is that comes out the back of it. I think most likely the biggest issue for her is not going to be about where monies get funneled, because there is a real, again, serious issue here, which is that there are a group of people who don't believe ministerial discretion should exist in the system. That put simply, the minister's job is to tick off on the decision of the public servants. Now, I don't believe that's the case, because we need to elect people who sit on top of our public service. So the allocations of money, we'll wait and see where that goes. Her issue is going to be about disclosure. Disclosure of the relationship, disclosure of what she knew, disclosure of wrongdoings that her former partner had. Now, again, you can simultaneously be a good person, a Sheila, and a person who absolutely has done her best to bring us out of COVID, and have done the wrong thing by not disclosing.